The smartest film critic in the world, Cole Smithey.
Hi, this is Cole Smithey with ColeSmithy.com and your guide to what to see and what to avoid at the movies this week. For his latest filmic exploration, Francois Ozon addresses a complex mix of sexual, personal, social, gender-based, familial, and technological issues, inexorably honing in on a striking synthesis of generational catharsis.
Son rythme fébrile. Et puis y aller. C'était comme un jeu.
That Ozon does so via a story about Isabelle, exquisitely played by newcomer Marine Vath, a beautiful bourgeoisie and 17-year-old do-it-yourself prostitute, reflects the growth of one of France's most consistent filmmakers, one of the few who develops in proportion to the promise of his well-seeded career. Set over the course of a year, the film uses the age-old narrative form of seasonal changes to mark Isabelle's fluid transition from virgin to sensual mistress. Most of her clients are men old enough to be her grandfathers. To call Marine Vath's fearless performance extraordinary barely scratches the surface of her finely crafted, transparent portrayal. Vath isn't merely precocious, she is a force of unbridled feminine and intellectual nature. Isabelle has important lessons to teach as well as to learn. Ozon takes meta-liberties when he shows Isabelle and some of her high school classmates reciting quotes from Arthur Rimbaud's poem No One's Serious at 17. On beautiful nights when beer and lemonade and loud, blinding cafes are the last thing you need, you stroll beneath green lindens on the promenade.
À quoi ça sert de l'éviter?
The unapologetically poetic direct-to-camera sequence captures much of the naivete, seething lust, and directionless ambition that Isabelle seeks to shed through her computer-facilitated double life of erotic experimentation. Her journey will be a quicksilver submersion into a lifetime's worth of sexual experience and ever-changing needs and desires. In keeping with Ozon's non-judgmental approach to his characters in such films as Hideaway and In the House, the filmmaker never veers into melodrama or exploitation, regardless of how tempting the subject matter might seem on the surface. That's not to say that Ozon doesn't regard the erotic nature of Isabelle's endeavors with the sexual directness they deserve. The audience experiences her erotic journey in relation to the sense of liberation she discovers along the way. If that freedom comes with a cost of cynicism, then the lessons are all the more truthful for her paying that price. There is a cost to wisdom, regardless of how it is achieved. When Isabelle witnesses her judgmental mother Sylvie, played by Geraldine Péjas, secretly flirting with a man with whom she may be having an adulterous affair, it seems to support Isabelle's bold, if hazardous, attempt at getting to the bottom of a romantic illusion that is too limited and naive for her mature constitution. Isabelle always gravitates to the bottom line in human relations. An uncomfortable sequence where she gauges her stepfather's lustful ambitions presents one of the film's more challenging scenes. Gorgeously filmed by cinematographer Pascal Marty, Young and Beautiful is a patient film that delves thoroughly into the generational mindsets of its age-disparate characters.
J'ai bien vu comment tu regardes tout à l'heure.
Tu exagères.
Charlotte Rampling helps send the narrative to its evocative conclusion as a woman called Alice, one of Isabelle's clients. You will never forget this truly mind-blowing film. I give this outstanding example of modern French cinema an A+. My sleeper pick is Locke, starring Tom Hardy, and my guilty pleasure pick is Brick Mansions, starring the late Paul Walker. My must-have DVDs are Betty Page Reveals All from Music Box Films. You, Me, and Them Series 1 from Acorn, and Cowgirls and Angels 2, Dakota's Summer from 20th Century Fox. Cinema doesn't get much more tightly wound than the anxious premise for Rudolph Matte's film noir standard-bearer. A mussed-up man stumbles into a Los Angeles police precinct and tells the chief he wants to report a murder, his own. What follows is the poor guy's explanation of the previous day's events, which will leave him a corpse by the end of the movie. D.O.A.'s death-insured flashback storyline was a bold innovation when it came out in 1950, one of the 20th century's most seminal years for world cinema. All About Eve, Gun Crazy, Rashomon, Los Olvidados, and Sunset Boulevard were all released the same year. Rudolph Matte was a renowned cinematographer of Polish descent whose work on The Passion of Joan of Arc, 1927, and Gilda, 1946, established his first-class reputation. Matte made clever use of locations in San Francisco and Los Angeles to add to the story's potent sense of urgency. Scenes of his lead character running through crowded sidewalks were shot guerrilla-style without permits. His memorable use of interiors in the now famous Bradbury Building in Los Angeles illustrates Matte's ingenious ability to instill noir's shadowy elements from Art Deco designs. Frank Bigelow, played by Edmund O'Brien, runs his own business as a small-time accountant in the desert town of Banning, California. Mr. Bigelow carries on an affair with his emotionally suffocating secretary Paula, played by Pamela Britton, a blonde with more sense than he gives her credit for. A week-long vacation in San Francisco promises to give Frank a chance to sow a few wild oats, with Paula's bluffing permission, if he is to give any serious consideration to a romantic future with her. In a tip to the atomic age, during Frank's first night in Frisco, a mysterious man slips him a radioactive Mickey at a jive bar that features fiery jazz music played by an all-black band for a crowd of rowdy white jive-crazy fans. Matte's depiction of San Francisco's delirious jazz scene provided cinema's first look at what would be termed the Beat Generation by the end of the decade. Diagnosed the next day as having only a day or 2 days, a week at the most, to live, Frank goes on an all-out rampage to track down the man who murdered him and carry out his revenge. A high-concept movie before there was such a thing, D.O.A. foreshadowed the poisoning of possibly Yasser Arafat and definitely Alexander Litvinenko via polonium-210 by a half-century.
Do you think you can explain my life away in just a few words? Why, I don't even know who you are. Why should I believe you?
You must calm yourself, Mr. Baker.
Although the movie stumbles through a checklist of well-worn film noir cliches like fumbling for change at the bottom of an ill-kept purse, its poison MacGuffin keeps the audience on tenterhooks right up until the final frame when the police captain stamps D.O.A. on a missing persons report. Like all great films, D.O.A. keeps its promise. Thanks for watching, and visit ColeSmithy.com for more.